the Paul Finebaum Show. And now, Paul Finebaum.
I am not Paul Finebaum. We welcome you to the Paul Finebaum Show. It is Booger and Burns once again filling in for the radio legend, Mr. Finebaum, who is getting well rested. He's resting the vocal cords because he's going to be ready to rock and roll from the SEC Media Days, where SEC Network will be broadcasting from. We'll have your exclusive look of everything and anything SEC related, and when the coaches take the podium and get ready for the quote unofficial kickoff for the 2015 season. I'm Peter Burns. He is Booger McFarland. Busy day. We've been some great outpouring from all the fans, reminiscing on the incredible career of Kenny Stabler here on the program. Phyllis with a great call. We're going to replay later a little bit in the program. I-Man was in here as well with some great stuff. A little bit of breaking news as well as Dalvin Cook, the Florida State running back who had a little brush with the law last year, now has a warrant out for his arrest in an incident stemming from him punching a girl a day prior to the day that DeAndre Johnson was caught on video punching someone in a bar as well. Booger, I mean, first of all, if you're Jimbo, why haven't we seen a dismissal when we saw a dismissal from the DeAndre Johnson thing so quickly after the video came out? Is it as simple as it's not on video, so we don't know?
I mean, it's that simple, and we've seen what the video does in the Ray Rice case in the NFL. I mean,
right.
Ray Rice got suspended 2 games. The video comes out. He's suspended pretty much indefinitely. I mean, with the DeAndre Johnson situation, the video was the first thing we saw, so I think that's why there was an immediate suspension. And, you know, Burns, you know, we can hold Florida State responsible because when they come to my home or any athlete's home and say, hey, Mom, hey, Dad, send your kid to Tallahassee. We're going to take care of him. We're going to raise him. We're going to make sure he becomes a responsible young man. And so when they leave that house and when that young man signs with that university, he has to become the responsibility of Florida State. And for Jimbo Fisher and for his ops department to allow these things to continue to happen, it's enough when the Jameis Winston situation basically takes over the whole season. Then to have the DeAndre Johnson, and right behind it, coupled with it, you have Dalvin Cook. I think Jimbo has to get his troops together and say, guys, do we need to institute a policy where if a guy gets arrested, he's automatically suspended for a game until we find out all the facts? Because you have to put the fear in these young men. For Dalvin Cook or whoever to say, and I quote, I can buy you in 2 years. How do you say that to another human being? I can, especially a woman. I can buy you in 2 years?
Right. This is the quote that we had Mark Schlabach earlier on the program, here on the Paul Finebaum program, and he has the story. It's up right now. You can read it on ESPN.com. And the quote that just unbelievably stood out to me is this quote, I told him I had a boyfriend and wasn't interested, said the woman who spoke to ESPN.com on the condition she would not be identified. The woman said the argument became heated, then Cook punched her in the face several times. Her friend ran to a nearby Tallahassee police car, which wasn't occupied, so the woman called 911. Quote, they kept telling me they were football players. Quote, the woman said, they kept telling me to Google them. They told me they were football players and that they could buy me in 2 years.
How do you say that to someone? Man, I'll buy you in 2 years.
Because you know why? Because they saw Jameis Winston, and maybe it's just an FSU issue, but I guarantee it happens across college campuses, but not nearly to this amount that's happening at Tallahassee. But you can say, you need to behave. We can't have this Jameis Winston stuff happening right now. And like John Hayes had said earlier, producer extraordinaire on Finebaum, what did they learn from Jameis Winston? That you get away with everything, from screaming in the halls to whatever else happened, and oh, by the way, you're the number 1 pick of the draft. I mean, where is the actual punishment come in for these guys? And if you're Jimbo Fisher, I know you're sick and tired of it. The boosters are sick and tired of it, Booger. But at the same time, they look at it and go, well, we're in the ACC. These guys, well, they can't really prove anything. That's 11 wins. That's good enough to get us in the college football playoff. We'll take that $7.5 million that we get from the television dollars. Do we really care what our image is as long as we're winning?
Now, let's be fair, okay? Jameis Winston did some stupid things. Jameis Winston never punched or punched a woman several times. And DeAndre Johnson is on video, and Dalvin Cook is about to be arrested for doing the same thing. So even though we're grouping them together, let's not paint a picture like that's what Jameis did. Now, Jameis made some idiotic decisions. And I think if you're Jimbo Fisher, you're going to have to make sure that your football team gets educated on decision making, because to me that's the root of the problem. Now, are they going to kick Dalvin Cook off the team? If there's no video, I highly doubt that they're going to kick him off the football team, because without Dalvin Cook, they don't make the college football playoff last year. So you got to think that without any video, and this is my gut feeling, without any video, Dalvin Cook is going to be on the football team, and because it's a misdemeanor based on what Willie Meggs told the ESPN reporter. This is a misdemeanor.
And think about this right now. This is happening in Greg Hardy, who was accused of almost kidnapping his girlfriend and beating her and throwing her into a bed of guns, was suspended for 10 games. It's been reduced down to 4 games. So, a big reason why there's not video of that. That 4 games is that Greg Hardy, for beating his girlfriend, he's going to get from the NFL is the same amount of games that Tom Brady has right now for having deflated footballs. It's an unbelievable world of punishment we live in. Luckily, we got a man a lot smarter than both of us combined about college football to bring in and make some sense of this. Tony Barnhart, Mr. College Football, joins Booger and Burns right now. Tony, where is the line cross not only with FSU and what Jimbo Fisher's happened in Tallahassee, but college football players getting in trouble yet staying on these teams?
Well, guys, the case that you're talking about, and obviously the other case at Florida State, let me tell you what's happening, is that the Ray Rice episode changed the world, all right? I believe that when these cases crop up now, if there is proof, now I'm a big due process guy, all right? But if there is proof, just like the Jonathan Taylor kid who ended up transferring to Alabama, if there is proof that he assaulted any woman in question, I don't see how you can keep him on the team. Now, Booger's got a point that absent video, there may be a problem, but I'm telling you, coaches are going to be held accountable on this stuff, and anybody who hits a woman moving forward is in dangerous territory of losing his football career.
And Tony, if you're Jimbo, though, don't you kind of got to, kind of sit back and say, man, our image right now is taking a big hit, and is there anything that Jimbo can do, sans kicking him off the team, that's going to kind of, stable the waters here?
Booger, I really don't think so. I think the only, as the great John Wooden said, the one thing the coach controls is who plays. And the one thing the coach controls is the football career of these guys. And I just believe that has to be the ultimate price. The guys have to know that if I hit a woman, if I'm on tape, it's a no-brainer. If there is no tape, but there is a lot of evidence and eyewitness accounts of this, and I just think that has got to be the way you move forward. Is for these guys have got to know that if you hit a woman, you are probably, not always, but probably going to lose your football career.
And rightfully so. You should lose a whole heck of a lot more like that if you're going to be a coward like that. Tony Barnhart joining Booger and Burns right here in for Paul Finebaum. Tony, we've had an outpouring from all kinds of SEC fans here on this program and across social media on the passing of Kenny Stabler. And, you knowing the history of the SEC so well, what did Kenny Stabler mean to you in college football?
Well, I was lucky in that I got to meet Kenny Stabler. He played a little bit before I started following it at Alabama, but I got to know Kenny at some of these golf functions I went to, and just, an incredible personality, an incredible wit. He was also an incredible football player. We know that. But, he had his problems. He had his problems with alcohol. I think everybody understands that. But he was so kind and so complimentary at the times that I met him, and the times that I had the chance to spend some time with him were really special. And it's the passing of an era, and it makes me sad.
Tony, when you look at how he played the game, and we all know some of the legendary stories, do you think that made him more synonymous with football in the South and football in Alabama?
Well, he was the ultimate swashbuckling gunslinger, Booger. I mean, he knew how to play the game, and guys rallied behind him. They believed that with Stadler back there, they were going to find a way to win the game, and that's what great like Montana, guys like that, their teammates know that, hey, if we just give this guy the ball with 2 minutes to go, we're probably going to win. And Kenny Stadler was that kind of player.
Tony Barnhart joining us, Booger and Burns in for Paul Finebaum. Tony, what's the big story you want to hear from coaches on SEC Media Days next week in Birmingham?
Well, I think the big stuff is taken care of. I mean, the network is in place. The conferences have their autonomy. We kind of know what the football schedule is going to look like for a while now. I don't think that the arguing and fussing about the full cost of attendance, I don't think that's over yet. I don't think it's over by a long shot. So I think that's going to come up. I think that from a football standpoint, the story is, I've been doing this a long time, guys, and I'm telling you, the SEC West, when you look at it on paper and study it, this is as balanced as I've ever seen the SEC West in terms of the talent from 1 through 7, who could possibly win the division. I think Auburn and Alabama are going to be the two teams that get picked up top next week when we're in Hoover. But I think there's just an incredible balance. And the other thing is the East going to bounce back, or is the East still significantly behind the West? Is Tennessee as good as a lot of people think they are? And can Georgia find a way to break through and win with what I think is a really good football team?
And I think another story, Tony, is you're going to have to see which one of these young quarterbacks, who's going to start for the full time, for the first time, is going to step up. Everybody's saying Jeremy Johnson is the best of the best. Which one of the young quarterbacks or quarterbacks getting their first opportunity to start full time do you think is going to be the best?
Well, I think it's Jeremy Johnson. I mean, here's a guy who hadn't started many games, but he's played enough. This is a kid. Gus Malzahn started recruiting Jeremy Johnson when Johnson was in the 9th grade. All right, so he knows this kid. He's been waiting to have this kid be his starting quarterback. And with the talent they're going to surround him with, Duke Williams physically is as good as any receiver in all of college football. They've got a stable of running backs, good offensive line. And the only question about Auburn is, what kind of impact can Will Muschamp have on the defense in the first year? So I think of all the new quarterbacks, I think it's Jeremy Johnson. I don't know what's going to happen in Georgia. Obviously, Joshua Dobbs, we know what he can do. But there's going to be a bunch of new quarterbacks around. What is going to happen at Alabama? They're going to have to pick a starting quarterback at some time. And who is it going to be? Is it going to be Jake Coker? Is it going to be the freshman? Is it going to be Cornwell? We don't know. And there's a lot of questions at the quarterback position.
Tony, last question I got for you. What would you say to someone if they told you Alabama was going to lose 4 games in the regular season?
I don't see it. I'd say I don't believe you. I'm sitting here looking. People put so much on the quarterback position, and it's an important position, but guess what? Blake Sims was out of this world last year. I think this defensive front 7 is as good as any front 7 that Nick Saban has had. They've got some issues in the secondary, but I think they've addressed those. I think they've got the offensive line is going to be rebuilt. I just think Alabama has recruited well enough over the last 4 to 5 years where they're going to be fine.
Man, you know what, Booger? Whenever he says it in that calming voice, that makes me really rethink my whole position on 8 and 4.
Yeah, because you were the one, and Tony Peter was the one who said yesterday Alabama was going to not only lose 4, they were going to lose 5 games.
No. You are totally wrong, Booger. I said that on Wednesday, not yesterday.
Peter,
hey,
I'm going to be very surprised if the media, 1,000 of our closest friends next week, if they don't pick Alabama to win the division, I'm going to be surprised.
Well, I tell you what, I'll tell you, I might put a nice nickel that it might be Auburn in the West, but stranger things have happened. Tony Barnhart, you can follow him on Twitter at Mr. CFB. Tony, we look forward to see you next week up in down in Birmingham. All right.
All right. See you then, guys.
There it is, Tony Barnhart, Mr. College Football, joining us, our partner in crime. On Saturdays, you can watch me and him during the halftime shows of the first game on SEC Network. All right, more of your phone calls. We got lines flooded right now here on the Paul Finebaum Show. If you want to hit us up on Twitter, you can, though, at Peter Burns ESPN or at SEC Booger. It is Booger and Burns in for Paul.
Hi,
a Booger McFarland jam. I know this one, right? Booger McFarland's going, hey, you like this. This is probably on repeat in your iPod, huh? You got this one on?
You have a little something set to move, big guy. Come on, man.
He is Booger McFarland. I am Peter Burns. It is Booger and Burns in for Mr. Paul Finebaum. We will go straight to the phone lines right now. Larry and Shelby, thanks for joining Booger and Burns in for Paul.
Hey, man, y'all doing a great job.
Appreciate it, Larry.
Got a wonderful job. I may have said that, and you just got out and just praised him, brother. I figured I'd try it.
Okay, go fade. I like that. Hey, you get to the front of the call. You get to the front of the call list when you say that we're doing a good job filling in for the King, Paul Finebaum. So go ahead.
Yeah, that's it. And you keep on about Bama, brother, you're all going to be locked out, Jack. I'm telling you. You just push them buttons on that woman. But my call was about the snake, brother. You know, I'm only 2 years younger, and I grew up watching him. He never was a heavyweight, big guy. You know, and what amazed me. We grew up in the same era. You know, rock and roll and music. And when I was 18, he was 20. But he gave me something, man, I love, and that was watching him on the football field. You know what I'm saying? To be just an everyday Joe that drank beer like me and raised hell and went out there and played. He played, brother. They wasn't no blows to the head. You know, no hitting the quarterback after he threw the ball, man.
Right.
I don't know how he got up. He wasn't that big. And when I see him in the pros in his latter years, when he put on them football ties, looked like a pair of the gypsies move out to ask them britches, son. I mean, he was low. And I watched him. He had tenacity, brother. And just because of maybe his lifestyle didn't fit with these closet drinkers, hey, a good man. He brought us something that'll be in our heart forever. And that's Bama football and his life in the pros, brother. And he should be in the Hall of Fame. It's a shame he got a damn die to get there. Roll Tide.
Larry, thanks for the phone call. We continue to move on. Will, thanks for joining Booger and Burns in for the Paul Finebaum.
Yeah, man, thanks for taking my call. Well, it's about Snake, man. To me, he was an icon. I was a young athlete, left-handed, so, you know, there weren't a lot of us back then. So he was like, my Saints were always out of the playoffs, so I was a Raider fan. Anyway, if the goal is to win, that's all this guy did. He was like around 28-3 at Bama. I think his first 69 games, he was 56-13 at the Raiders. I mean, think about that for a minute. He's the only one of 3 guys in history that have won as starting quarterbacks, won a national championship and a Super Bowl. Him, Namath, and Montana. That's it. And that's pretty rarefied air, you know. And he was the antithesis of Staubach. You know, he was the guy that smoked during halftime and all that stuff, but who cares? He was a real person, and it's just a big loss. Condolences to the family and all the Alabama family. And, you know, I'm not a Bama guy, but Roll Tide, and if it's just win, baby, he did. And that's all I got. Thanks for taking my call, guys.
Thanks, Will. Johnny, you're next up on the Paul Finebaum Show.
Good evening, friends. It sounds like them fart bubbles is treating you a little better now.
Thanks, thanks, Johnny.
Like you got a little common sense, brother.
We're trying, hey, man. If the one thing that's great about Kenny Stabler and hearing these stories, man. It all kind of ties it together about how you respect legends, and I think that's the thing we respect here about SEC fans all over. No matter what your opinion is on the football being played on the field, you respect the guys that paved the way, and there's no doubt Kenny Stabler was one of those guys.
Hey, that's it. That's what I want to call. You know, I can remember at 6, 7 years old. You know, my daddy was. I mean, it's like us back. You know, with Herschel Walker and the great, you know, A.J. McCarron, so on. You know, Mark Ingram. You know, he was an icon. He was just. I mean, he made football what football was in the 70s. And I can remember my daddy jumping up and doing the heck yeah and all this like I do today, you know, and that's what's so special about the SEC and the Southern sports and the way we do. We believe it, we live it, you know. It's something special in your heart, you know. When you wake up on Saturday and it's football time, baby. You know, that's what it's all about. And you know, Kenny, that's something that just eats me up. You know, when I was young and growing up, I drank. You know, I was a heck raiser. You know, I don't want to be remembered as that. I want to be remembered on the positive aspect of my life. And Kenny set a good example. Look, I did, you know, I drank. Yeah, I drank like a fish. So what? But in my later years, I cleaned it up. You know, I straightened it, you know, and it's good to people, good to kids. You know, I've heard so many. But people getting on, you know, they want to be negative. Society wants to hit the dirt, you know. It ain't about that. It's about the good in a person's heart. You know, that's what it is. Like as far as that kid deal. You know, replay what I said Tuesday, God. You know, that tell you how I felt. Stand on it. If you go screw up, get out. You know, and stand on it. And these kids come to school, when they see that, and believe if they screw up their goal, I guarantee you they'll come in with a different attitude, boys. What do you think?
Johnny, I think that's a good jumping off point, too, right, Boog? Because there's no accountability. And Tommy Moffitt, the strength coach and conditioning coach, who you know for LSU, Boog, is a no-nonsense kind of guy, right? And he said that these kids now, because so many of these juniors and seniors go on to the NFL draft, there's not a lot of senior leadership on these teams. And more importantly, these kids come in more entitled than anything. And you're talking about Dalvin Cook, of course, the Florida State running back, who's got a warrant out for his arrest after allegedly punching a young lady. The night before, his teammate DeAndre Johnson was caught on tape punching someone. That's the breaking news today. But how can you change that accountability, Booger, with 18-year-old kids that are taught you're a 4-star, you're a 5-star. We got 45 people that want to come sign you. You're the next big thing. Agents already want to talk to you. How do you change that perception?
Take away what matters most, playing time. You know, when you get to the NFL where everybody's rich and everybody's making money, there's one thing you can take away. I mean, they find guys $25,000 in the National Football League, Peter. People look at it like a spit in the bucket.
Right, I got to pay that cash right now.
Yeah, I go to the car and get that. But if you take away a guy's time on the field, because that affects his livelihood, then you can get to him. Then you can reach him. And so if I'm the head coach of a college institution, I'm going to take away his time. Okay, if you don't want to act right, guess what? I got somebody behind you. The problem at Florida State is Dalvin Cook was the savior last year. He was the guy that came in and sparked the running game. So he went into the offseason even more entitled, knowing that, okay, Jameis is gone. This is my show. Like he said to the young lady, I'll buy you in 2 years. Hold on, young man. Have you earned the right to think that this is your show? And to me, that's the thing that you have to change from the entitlement standpoint. Is you have to make sure that these young men understand that they got to continue to work for what they have.
That is the voice of Booger McFarland. I am Peter Burns. It is Booger and Burns in for Paul Finebaum. Your phone call is coming up next, 855-242-PAUL. Booger and Burns in for Paul.
This is a...
Welcome back to the Paul Finebaum program. It is Booger and Burns. This makes sense, this song. Peter Burns, Booger McFarland, nothing but a G thing. Because I said we're getting ready for SEC Media Days, and how cool it would be for the coaches to come out to their own theme songs, like wrestling. You know, like late 80s, 90s, if they had their own entrance music, Booger. And I was thinking, you know what, this would be great. Mark Richt comes out to Nothing But a G Thing for Georgia. It would make sense. Have Snoop there, maybe Dr. Dre. He's got all that Beats by Dre money now. He can afford the flight. It would be perfect.
Yeah, I'm just curious what Les Miles would come out with.
Hey, I'm a gambling man.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know he would do that. Or, it had to be something like that. I'm a gambling man.
Oh,
You can hit us up on Twitter. So one of the things we've talked about today, the hashtag today is hashtag SEC Wish. And what it is there's a lot of coach speak that comes up each and every year. No one wants to give, like Booger, you said, no bulletin board material, right? Like, no, don't say anything that's going to get you in trouble a month before the season. But fans want your coach to say something. Like, for instance, I want Mark Richt to go out there and say, we're not just going to win the East. We're not just going to win the SEC championship. We are winning the whole kit and caboodle. Because that's the attitude I want to have from Mark Richt this year. Because Mark Richt is always so soft-spoken and, well, we got a good team and I think we got a good chance. No! That hasn't worked. I want you to say we're beating everybody. Come at me, bro. You know, the tase me, bro. Come at me, bro. That's what I want him to say. Boog, what would be your hashtag SEC wish of a college coach and what he should say at SEC Media Days?
Well, mine is going to be Derek Mason, and he just stands up there and says, I'm calling the defense this year, and I will not have a hand in the offensive game plan. To me, if he says that would send shockwaves through Nashville, just because everything that happened last year, I mean, the constant switching of quarterbacks. I think Vanderbilt was one of only 3 schools last year to play or start 4 quarterbacks.
4 quarterbacks?
4. Okay, so if Derek Mason did that, that would not be bulletin board material, and I guarantee that would lead every talk show in Nashville about Vanderbilt.
All right, let's head out to Chesapeake, Virginia, where we find Jacob. Jacob, what is your hashtag SEC wish coming into Media Days?
My SEC wish, Peter, is that Malzahn will get up there and kind of diffuse some of the hype he's getting. The players won't go into it a little bit too big-headed. That's the thing I'm worried about, because every time Auburn seems to be the favorite coming in, we seem to go out there and suck. So I'd just like to see him diffuse that.
Boog, you said that earlier too. You said that's exactly what you want Malzahn to say about Jeremy Johnson right off the bat.
Well, listen, right now the most hyped player in our conference right now is Jeremy Johnson.
Oh, no doubt.
He's only played one half of football. I mean, think about this. Think about if this was from another conference and there was a guy getting so much hype off of one half of football, but that's what Jeremy Johnson is getting right now. He is super talented, but there's something called show me. Show me what you can do, and I think everyone wants to see what Jeremy Johnson can do, and I think if you're Gus Malzahn, you have to kind of temper expectations at Media Day, because if they go out and they don't put up but 21, 24 points the first couple of weeks, people are going to be like, what's wrong with your offense? And there may be nothing wrong. You have a guy starting for basically the first time throughout the season. Allow him to come on, allow him to progress. But he's definitely got the most expectations right now of anybody in this conference that has never really played an entire game.
855-242, Paul, is the phone line. Let's go out to Athens, Georgia. Speaking of some of those Bulldogs. Drew, welcome to Booger and Burns, in for Paul Finebaum.
Hi, I hate to break to you, I'm not going to speak about the Bulldogs. I'm a Roll Tide guy, but I go to school in Athens. Just a quick question, more towards Booger. Coming from a high school with a starter and SEC quarterback last year, one in the ACC, and a linebacker starter from a high school, recruiting, when they talk about recruiting, they talk about the downtown scene and what it's like and how much fun it is, and that's a part of recruiting. So does the coaches not know that these guys are going to go to the bars? And I would think they know that, and since they do, why can't they enlist a graduate assistant or somebody to go with them and monitor them, and if something seems like it's going to take place or they're getting a little bit too heated, just to get them the heck out of there and save these situations that have happened the past 2 weeks?
Well, normally what happens is that on a recruiting trip, you have guys that are kind of monitoring these young, because these guys are still basically high school guys. Now, what happens once these guys are on a college campus, they're essentially treated like grown men, and you don't have anybody monitoring them 24/7. Sometimes when you have a situation like at Florida State, I would send a GA, but here's the problem. You got 85 guys on scholarship. If you count walk-ons, you got 110 or 115 guys. You don't have that many GAs, so you can't send a GA to where everyone is. And so at some point, these young men have to accept responsibility for their actions and take responsibility for what they are going to do. That's why I put the onus back on the institution. Take away the playing time. And I promise you, if you take away the playing time, you're going to solve a lot of your problems.
You're saying take away playing time if they get in trouble once or if they're spotted underage at a bar. Is that what you're saying?
Well, spotted underage at a bar is one thing, okay? But if you get in trouble, okay, to me, take away the playing time. If I was a head coach at an institution, what I would do is I would have team rules, okay? If you get arrested, you're automatically going to sit one game. Regardless of whether you are arrested during the season or in the off season, you're automatically going to sit one game. And I'll go from there because, to me, that's the only way you instill fear. It's kind of like when you discipline your kids. You start off disciplining your kids with timeout and maybe you hit them on the wrist with a ruler or something, but it's the fear of discipline that allows them to learn from their mistakes. And if you have no fear of discipline, then you know what? There are no repercussions when I go do something. So that's what I would do if I was a coach.
And guess what? They also saw Jameis Winston be able to get away. And now, not nearly, the assault case is completely different, but we're talking about some of the issues that he had with the screaming in the cafeteria. They saw teammates be able to get away with it, and it for no fault. What are you going to sit out for a half, a quarter? And it just didn't come in at that point.
Well, and to Jimbo's point, Jimbo did sit Jameis Winston for the Clemson game. Now, he did do that. And to me, that sent a message to Jameis Winston. And that was something that I think that resonated with him, but evidently it hasn't resonated enough through the rest of the football team. So you got to start sitting guys. Take away playing time. You take away a lot of the things that motivate these young men.
But then where do you draw the line about getting some of these guys? Because didn't this, I mean, I watched the U2, the 30 for 30. Right? Like, this is what Donna Shalala wanted to do in Miami, right? So she said, hey, we're going to bring Randy Shannon in. We're going to clean up this bad boy image, okay? Because there is no doubt right now what's happening in Tallahassee is an embarrassment to college football and to the programs that are doing it right. Can we all agree on that? It's a downright embarrassment how Jimbo Fisher and how FSU is running this program. I'll say it. I don't have any problem saying it because the proof is in the pudding. But then also at the same point, you're going to have people in at any institution look at it and go, remember what happened when Randy Shannon came in at Miami? What happened when he cleaned up that program, Bug?
They sucked. They didn't play well.
Right?
I mean, exactly.
That's what happened. Hey, we got a really nice guys. It's like saying, hey, is she a really good-looking girl? Well, she's got a nice personality. The Miami Hurricanes had a really nice personality there for a couple of years. They were a likable team.
But Peter, think about this, though, Peter. The thing about this, though, and we're on Florida State because we're being a little bit of a prisoner of the moment because it just happened. But how many kids are arrested or suspended from every school around the country? I mean, if you think about that. I mean, we can look at our own conference in the SEC and just kind of pick and choose. There have been guys arrested, although it may not be for hitting a girl in the face. It may be for stealing. It may be for something else. My point being is if you're a coach at an institution, the only threat you have is the scholarship and or playing time. So that's the thing that they got to use as a disciplinary measure to keep these kids in check.
More of that conversation as Booger Burns returns in for Paul Finebaum.
Individuals.
55 days till college football kicks off, and my goodness, for every single fan base, it can't get here any quicker, especially for those of you listening right now to the Paul Finebaum Show. You're probably waiting for Monday when it's no longer Booger and Burns. It's Peter Burns, Booger McFarland. You get back the king of Sports Talk Radio. Paul Finebaum will return to this very program. Your phone calls 855-242-7285. We appreciate you guys been giving us the warm welcome here the last couple of days. We've had a lot of information, and new information has come out. Earlier, Mark Slaboff from ESPN senior writer had the story that Dalvin Cook, the Florida State running back, what Booger you called maybe the savior of Florida State's program last year, when Winston was having his issues and saved that team, has been, there's a warrant out for his arrest because of an altercation or he got, of allegedly hitting a female the night before DeAndre Johnson was caught on video hitting a young lady in a bar. Now it has come out, and it is official, that Florida State announces that Dalvin Cook has been indefinitely suspended from the team. And, Boog, if I'm not mistaken, that comes on the heels of DeAndre Johnson being dismissed from the Florida State program, correct?
Yes, correct. Now, for me, I see the word indefinite suspension, and, a lot of people are going to clamor and say FSU's, doing the right thing, and I get it. They're supposed to do this until they do their investigation. Where I come from, indefinite means until we need you. And he's got to cooperate with the police. He's got to cooperate with everybody. And if indeed this stuff happened that the young lady said that happened, you know what? He's got to learn from this situation. And I don't know if Jimbo is going to kick him off the team. I don't know. That's a decision for Jimbo to make. I do know this. Absent of video, I don't think there's going to be the uproar like we saw in the DeAndre Johnson situation. Video changes things. We're only human. We're visual people. When you see things happen, we're going to get more emotional about it. I just think the bigger picture, regardless of what happens, whether the video surfaces or whatever, I think it's important for Jimbo to figure out how he can get these young men to discipline themselves away from the team. Peter, when I played, the locker room kind of took care of itself. Okay, if you're going to go out and have fun, you was always with a group of guys, and they kind of made sure nobody kind of got too wild. Jimbo has to establish that on his team, because you can't have GAs following everybody. You can't have coaches following everybody. You have to have people that are going to be responsible for themselves. And I'll say it again, the one thing a coach always has in his back pocket, PB, is playing time.
Boog, did you ever have a teammate hit a female? Whether it be at the bar, they've been drinking at 4 a.m. or coming out of a club, or a spouse or a girlfriend. In your playing days, in all your locker rooms, you don't have to name a name, but did that ever happen? And if so, how did the team respond?
Well, I've seen, and I'm not going to name any names, I've seen players push females. I've never seen anybody with a closed fist just, do what DeAndre Johnson did. I've never seen that. From a standpoint, we all want to, be moralists and sit on our high horse when something like this happens. I always think it's important to understand, one, as a man, you have to say, okay, what if it was that, what if that was my sister? What if that was my cousin? What if that was my daughter? How would I feel in that situation? And you try to portray those feelings to your teammate or to that person. But there's no excuse. There is no excuse. Sans from a woman having a gun or a knife trying to come at you and do bodily harm to you, there is no excuse for hitting a woman. You're supposed to excuse yourself from the situation. Now, I will say this. I have seen or have heard, because I wasn't there, of a female coming at a teammate with a knife, and he had to defend himself. And to me, that's the only way that I'm going to say, okay, it's okay to do that, because when you're fighting for your life or trying to defend your life, that's something that you have to do. Other than that, there's really no excuses for putting your hands on a woman.
That's the latest news. Is Dalvin Cook, the Florida State running back, has warrant out his arrest for indeed striking a woman, and even part of Mark Slavaw's story is saying that, quote, you can Google me. We're Florida State football players, and I will buy you in 2 years. It's coming from Mark Slavaw's story on ESPN.com. Make sure you go out there and check it out right now. And Florida State just released, and we were able to confirm here internally that he has been indefinitely suspended for the team. What that means, you heard from Booger. It might be until we need you. It might be until something else. Where you want to weigh in on it, you're more than welcome to here. 855-242-7285. That's 855-242-PAUL. You can hit us up on Twitter, at Peter Burns ESPN. He is at SEC Booger. It is Booger and Burns in for the Paul Finebaum program. And remember, Paul makes his triumphant return back Monday from SEC Media Days in Birmingham.
This is a
Geico presents Strange Savings Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
And now, for Geico's edition of Stuff Found in Your Car, we go inside your side door pocket.
Hello, yes, the crumpled receipt with gum in it. From your anniversary dinner, you sprang for expensive wine, your server was Beth. That dinner was a couple $100. Money you could get back if you switched to Geico and saved hundreds of dollars on your car insurance. I bet you'd save that receipt. Frame it even. But really, where did I go wrong? Was it the corkage fee?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com today.